Welcome to a world that only exists at night, where heroes are found in the strangest of places. A world populated by forgotten classics, video nasties, and the head of their time. Take a look with me at misunderstood geniuses and those who believe themselves to be so. This is the world of the Midnight Screening.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Midnight Screening. My name is Nathan. With me, as always, it's Josh.
Hello.
And hi.
Sup with it though.
Today's movie is I'm getting it wrong. 2006. Yep.
7.
2006.
6.
7.
It's definitely 6.
It says on
Well, it
Prime
says in
2007.
IMDb 2006.
Yeah. Never trust Prime. Never. For context of that, Borat 2's name isn't written out on full on Prime, and they made it.
Okay, so we're talking about the 2005 film.
2000.
No, it says 2007.
Yeah,
so
this
that's
is
fair.
why I always keep IMDb open, just in case things like that.
Okay.
So we're talking about 2006 cult mockumentary, Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon. This is another one I think a lot of our audience probably won't have heard of. Only really gaining its cult status last couple years. I've started to see it floating about. Does someone want to explain what this is?
It's a film, Nathan.
You stole my joke from the
It's
Fight
a
Club
film.
episode.
I do not remember you saying
It's-
that.
It's it's based in a world where serial killer happenings actually happened. You know, Freddy Krueger, instead of just being kills you in your dreams, he was a real person. Jason Voorhees, Mike Myers, probably the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but they didn't want to say that. So yeah, and then they follow an up and coming serial killer.
Yes, so a documentary crew follows around the title character Leslie Vernon as he's planning his night of terror.
I don't know if that sounded as ominous as I hoped it would.
No, that sounded more.
No, it sounded more angelic.
Yeah, that was quite like church
Bit more
choiry.
choiry. Yeah, but more choiry.
Maybe I just love serial
That
killers.
was that was like the sort of sister
Yeah,
act more than Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I'll work on it.
Yeah, you want to go more deeper. You want to go deeper.
See, that
You
just
wanna go
doesn't sound demonic. That sounds like, crappy Halloween.
Yeah, it kind of says that you're trying to do the theme to the movie Halloween, but you've kind of forgotten what it sounds like.
Pitching, like the cycle. Like, yeah, I can't get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I went high. Nathan, I
I
think
don't
there's
think
a
you
mouse
go
in
high
your
with
room.
going, oh, because that just sounds more choiry.
Yeah, okay. I realised my
that was the
mistakes.
cycle
Okay.
If you go high with that, you go. Apparently, Josh. Okay, right. Nathan, continue.
So, yeah.
If you had
Sorry,
to,
I'm still laughing. I don't know why. I don't know where I got to. Yeah, wait. Explain the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a fake documentary about a serial killer who is inspired by what in his universe are real events, the likes of, as mentioned in the film, Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers, with some hints to some other ones. I think
Who's hinted?
well, he says Chucky by name, which I find quite interesting.
Yeah, he does say Chuck. I remember Chucky.
Which I was gonna,
But-
I will get to later. I'll put a pin in that. There's subtle
Okay.
things to like,
Alright.
what I call the
Look
Canadian
out for it.
era. The Canadian era of
Okay.
slashers, your sort of post Black Christmas, things like that. My Bloody Valentine. Just with the amount of talk of like sorority girls and copycat killers and things like that. That kind of come halfway through the film. We'll get into all of that because I have a lot to say because this film is almost tailor-made specifically for me. to love.
Okay.
You know, like this is almost exactly my thing. As a horror movie nerd, just this half of this movie is just someone who is obsessed with slasher films looking dead in a camera and explaining what makes slasher films fun.
So if we find out at some point Nathan
You're
has
right, that
committed
is what
several
happens.
murders, we should not be surprised. That's what I'm hearing right now.
I just like Friday the 13th a lot, okay?
And you want it to be your life. Okay, we get it, but don't kill people.
No. Well, unless I'm Tommy Jarvis, but only when he killed them, not when he brought him back to life by accident by electrocuting him on the day of his death. Anyway, I was just pointing out that's the plot to Jason Lives. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Tommy Jarvis wanted to make sure
Yeah.
Jason was still dead, so he put a lightning rod in his grave and accidentally brought him back to life.
On the day he died.
On the anniversary
Let's
of
do
his
that.
death, yeah.
Do it like the day after.
I love how dumb those movies are. And so does whoever wrote this movie. I have no idea who it is.
Scott Glosserman and David J. Steve.
Whoever you say
Yeah.
that.
Alright.
Sorry, Jason. David, even. I said Jason because
Yeah,
it's Jason.
good job.
Someone else take over for a second.
Nah, I'm okay with hearing you ramble like this as you spiral further into.
Right.
Yeah.
What I
Madness.
was trying to get at there is this is clearly a film written by people that just love slasher movies. Like, I feel like that really comes across, which is what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, looking at that poster, you may not expect that, but
Yeah,
it is fun.
I went into this film not knowing anything about it, so I was just kind of expecting your classic horror film, like horror slasher. And then when it opens with, you know, the kind of mockumentary type stuff, talking about Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger and all that, it definitely all of a sudden changed my mindset of how I was going to be watching this film.
I mean, I watched the trailer. I watched the trailer first to see if it was like what type of film it was. Then I just sat there and went, "Haha, I am not watching this at night time." Yeah, I'm that guy. Because I thought it was going to be your other bog standard slasher, but no, it was not.
It's not quite. And
yeah.
I say quite. Very
Like,
intentionally.
there's not like, yeah, like you see like stuff like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. There's a murder very early on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's your typical slasher thing. There's a murder even with Scream. There's a murder very early on.
Oh,
That's-
Scream's the best
no.
one for that. I love the opening
Drew
kill from
Barrymore
Scream.
dies.
It's so
Oh yeah,
intense.
spoilers for Scream if you haven't seen it.
Spoilers for the first 10 minutes of Scream.
Drew
I
Barrymore
got in trouble for
dies,
that
and
at
it's
college
hilarious.
once. I got in trouble for spoiling Scream.
What?
Yeah, and I was like, it's
From,
the
like-
opening scene. Like,
Is it like the early 2000s?
well, it's
Scream?
there's like a
Was
rule
it
in
90s?
classes like that. You shouldn't spoil anything because you never know who's seen what.
Oh god. Wow.
So like yeah, like there's because someone might want to visit something in the academic sense later. But I maintain the fact that I said that Drew Barrymore died in Scream should not be a spoiler because it's the opening scene. No,
no.
it's the plot of the movie. Anyway, we're not doing Scream today. We're doing a different slasher movie satire.
Yep.
Yeah.
It only hit me right now. This film's quite similar to Scream. In tone, not plot.
Yeah.
I think I get where you're coming from. Just it's another film that like almost somebody wanted to make a horror film, but they realized if they just made another normal one, it wouldn't get the traction that they want or like the attention.
Mhm.
So they had to think outside the box, go a bit different, and this is what they got.
And be deliberately on the
Yeah,
nose.
yeah.
You know, it's doing all the tropes, but in a way that's like almost analyzing where they come from, why they're effective,
Yeah.
and in some cases why they're not effective and shouldn't be there anymore.
And in some points, yeah, just downright making fun of some of them.
Yeah.
I
Particularly
forgot to say I
everything.
was more creeped out.
Sorry, continue.
No, you go.
Okay, I was gonna say, you saying making fun of some of them, particularly with regards to like the Virgin Girl stuff
Yeah, it was the one
that we've had since like
the
Texas
one that got
Chainsaw.
me when he was talking about picking up a weapon, and she was like, and it symbolizes, her desire for cock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Which like is true. Like that's what that's supposed to symbolize, but it's just lost all meaning
So stupid. Yeah.
through
Yeah.
convention. Yeah, you're just supposed to do it. And why?
Yeah, the way he explains that is like she is masculinizing. Is
Yeah, he
that
says
the
he
right way to
says
say that word?
he
Yeah.
emasculating.
Emasculate. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, he's emasculating this guy that's apparently held so much power over her.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially saying from the start he was essentially saying he was a one-trick pony. He was going to be the one-trick pony, whereas guys like in this world and in the movie world, like Freddy has killed how many people? Jason has killed how many people? Mike Myers, fucking Leatherface, Chucky, bloody Ghostface. How many people have they killed? You know what I mean? He's taking the tips like and how to do some things, but he's then becoming just that. It was one name in the paper. He died.
Yeah,
Well,
He ain't coming back.
that's
It's the idea of he
You know what I
wants
mean?
to be that person, but only if he's got the Virgin Girl right. Like that's what he says throughout it, without going into like spoilers, because we'll get to there later. But
we will.
Yeah.
the whole concept is that he'd either kill them all if he'd picked the wrong girl, or he'd fail, but he'd also succeed in failing because it means he's picked the right girl.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like another
That's it,
subtle
yeah.
kind of gesture,
That's true.
pointing at all the other ones.
He keeps, yeah, because he references particularly Jason and Michael a lot, but the setup of his sort of night is so similar to the like generic wannabes that him and his like mentor keep making fun of throughout the film. So there's this like pretension to him where he believes himself to be like more important and grandiose than he is. But he is just another flash in the pan like wannabe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say this now. I was more creeped out by the librarian than him. That librarian was
I
freaky.
love that scene.
Like,
Um,
yeah, the librarian was creepy, dude.
it was, yeah,
Like-
but in such a
She-
clever
her
way.
voice.
That's one of those tropes that
You
like
know,
should not still be a thing. The like, particularly when it's a librarian. Like, why are there
Yeah.
libraries in these like towns in these stories still?
and why do they stay open till like 4 o'clock
Yeah,
in
didn't
the
the
morning?
Bye Bye Man do the librarian one?
Yep.
In like 2017.
Yeah, but you can't really like look
They
at
did
that
the
for someone
library.
that's trying to make a good film of any form.
I think they were
Someone else
trying.
did the
They
library too.
didn't.
They did try, yeah.
Who else did a librarian thing?
The
Like an actual serious one?
it does a librarian.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Yeah, because
Its library
you
scene
see,
works, though.
Pennywise.
Yeah. Well, its
Yeah,
library scene works because
Pennywise
it's set
sticking
in the
his
past.
face at the banisters. Horrible.
It yeah.
Oh
Both,
wait.
both
Are we talking?
both versions of it take place at a time where people went to libraries.
I was going to say, are we talking Skarsgård or
Either
Both.
one.
Curry?
Because it's the 50s or the
'Cause-
80s, either way.
Did Skarsgård stick his head out the banisters?
No, that's the
Yeah, Curry did.
it's the-
No, I know Curry did. I don't
yeah.
know
He
if
does the
Skarsgård
banister
did.
in the Skarsgård one. It's the headless zombie.
Horrible, man. Like, still to this day, I can't watch the book bit when they're looking at the black and white book and he's cartwheeling
Oh yeah,
like, in colour through the book. That's horrible, man.
So yeah, there's
Like they show. I was like 8 when I first saw this. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I was watching this shit. And I was like, as soon as that happened, I went, nope, turned that shit off straight up.
but yeah, this movie, a lot of it is based around the idea of the killer himself, Leslie Vernon, taking the documentary crew through the steps of essentially making a slasher movie. So the scene we're referring to here is the opening kill, which is often someone vaguely close to your. I keep wanting to say final girl because that's the actual terminology. What does he call it again? Surviving?
Survivor
Girl.
Survivor.
Yeah, thank you.
Survivor girl.
So yeah, what he calls the survivor girl. So in this case, they do the whole she's researching at the library thing, and the librarian does this exposition dump, which essentially like, I mean, yeah, there's a few librarians in these films, gas station clerks and house party friends, classmates. Yeah, there's
teachers.
It's the character that
there's
lets
always
you
a
get
scene
through the
like that.
slashing rather than watching people research for an hour and a half of a film.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't heard about this? The legend of Stephen. Always the worst scene in any slasher movie, so I love how committed they were to
Yeah.
doing it just as stupid as normal.
I mean, what's this? You've got it. Like, are you really surprised? What's a 17-year-old girl give a shit about an urban legend that happened
But that's why
20 years before she was born?
that's why like again I hate bringing it up constantly here, but I do love the opening kill to Scream so much because it just happens. You know?
Yeah, it's
The
hilarious.
killer just goes, tonight's the night we start killing, and starts going after his
I'm going to
victims.
phone
Yeah.
you. I'm going to phone you. I'm going to give you a random conversation. You're going to hang up on me. I'm going to get angry. You're going to hang on me again. I'm going to cut your. I'm going to cut your shit.
But
to
you
shreds.
get everything. You get
Simple.
like the unique like method of like stalking that Ghostface does. You get like his catchphrase in there. The whole point of the movie. It's great.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Do you like scary movies?
Oh wait, no. It's scary movie. The film is actually called the lines. What's your favorite scary movie?
That scene in the library also introduces us to the person who legitimizes this film quite a bit. Let's all just take a minute to appreciate the legendary Robert Englund.
Mm-hmm. Ah, I love that.
What a
He's
man!
great guy.
What
He's
a
great
man!
actor.
That's a name that can sell a horror movie, you know.
Yeah, you see Robert Englund, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, you're a horror fan. You're watching anything Robert Englund decides to appear in.
He was in a Bones episode, and he made that Bones episode.
And he is fantastic in this movie.
It's weird seeing him playing a good
Yeah.
guy, like the quintessential, like the Van Helsing to Dracula,
He is doing
essentially.
so much like scene chewing, even though he's barely in this movie.
Oh wait, there's a lot of Leslie has a lot of penis references in this movie.
There is, yeah.
Because he calls Robert Englund's guy, Doc Calloway, he calls him Ahab, which, if it's the right person, the most famous Ahab is Moby Dick.
Yeah.
Is Leslie calling himself Moby Dick?
Well, the Ahab reference is to do with Captain Ahab spent his life chasing the white whale, which would make Moby Dick, which would make Leslie his white whale, his like impossible feat.
Yeah.
His life would be complete if he caught him. Naturally, the character he most reminded me of is Dr. Lupin from... Dr. Lupus from Halloween. Straight down to the being a therapist that used to talk with Leslie when he was a kid.
Yeah.
It's just straight up the plot to Halloween. I love that. But I always appreciate a film like this attempting to pay homage to like to show that it's not being mean spirited. It's not being like
Yeah.
negative to the whole concept. It decides to pay homage to what it deems to be the actual classics, the greats, straight up to casting a legend of this very specific subgenre.
Yeah. Since the 80s?
Yeah, the mid 80s with when he
Yeah.
first pulled Johnny Depp through a bed
Through a bed.
and fountains of blood went everywhere.
Hilarious.
We've spoken about Doc. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Leslie as a character.
Okay.
What do we think of that first time performance from Nathan Basil?
I'm going to go Basil.
Basil?
With the EI, it has to be Basil. Or Basil, yeah. I mean, good first performance. I wouldn't have... Yeah, because it did say, like... it did say something about it being his first performance, didn't it?
Yeah,
Like, right at the start credits.
He has an introducing credit.
For a first movie, pretty solid, but I don't know if he's maybe, like... How much did he do after
Acting
this?
wise, not a whole
Uh,
bunch.
No, I don't really know this guy
Yeah.
at all.
He does a lot of production stuff and just like
So
reality
maybe-
TV shows and stuff, or editing. Like he's not a huge actor.
Oh. Right. Do you think maybe he typecasted himself?
I think he's
By
just
doing
not an
that well.
actor.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if
I think
because
that's
of like
Fair
the
enough.
just he works clearly in film and stuff. Like he's got, if you look at his IMDb, he's just constantly got editorial stuff for a bunch of different TV shows, whether it's reality or documentary, whatever. I've got a feeling what probably happened is that he
Right.
heard about this movie and he's probably just a huge horror fan himself and wanted in some sense. That'd be my best guess.
it's always
Could be.
good getting someone like that for something that should feel like a documentary. Someone that's been in that like the other side of the chair before.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but a good like 20 minutes into this movie, he actually started to freak me out. Like
Really?
he becomes a threat in such an interesting way.
Yeah, I think they make him more of like a scary character in a sense of it's a lot more psychological fear than in your classic slasher stuff. Because you know, like when you watch Friday the 13th or Halloween, whatever, what you see of the killer is just them hacking people to bits and then walking in the mist. You know, so it almost limits your understanding and your fear of them in the sense it's a very physical fear of, oh, they'll kill me. But when it's like essentially like what the whole film is delving into the minds of these people, and it's showing like they genuinely don't see what they're doing is wrong or things like that, and they start to, it's that idea of being like that that's really messing with you. So I get why it would scare you as a character to see all that kind of
Yeah.
psychological
He
torment.
made me so
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Anytime he gets like upset, like you feel that like if hadn't like if he wasn't planning something, he would have just hurt someone in that moment. But he knows he can't.
I think the moment for me that turned it like from like what I legitimately thought he was just like a fanatic, like a big horror fanatic. He just wanted to like intimidate. He just acted just a little bit weird, and then when he actually when he chokes the reporter against the van, that's when it set off for me. I was like, oh, this dude's like. This is actually seriously.
That
he's
is an
gonna kill people.
effective scene like that.
Yeah.
He becomes a threat after that moment. It's
He becomes Leslie Vernon.
so I think that is
Yeah.
I think a genuinely great character, which I wasn't expecting from
Yeah.
this film.
Oh,
Because that to me is the thing you tend to sacrifice with these types of movies. You know, I couldn't tell you.
You lose the character.
I couldn't tell you a single character's name from like Cabin in the Woods.
Chris Hemsworth.
The girl who kissed the wolf head. The girl who maxed out with the wolf head.
Other than like the what do you call them? The guys in
That's
lab
true,
coats.
though.
I remember those guys, obviously.
I don't remember their guys' names either. I remember stuff
like,
from them. I don't
yeah.
remember names.
But that's it. Like with these kind of satires, you tend to remember like, oh, this is the scene where they reference this, and this is the scene that like makes fun of this trope or this whatever. It's impressive to me that even though this is
Yeah.
like essentially a comedy to an extent, Leslie Vernon still, to me, feels like a genuine slasher villain.
Yeah.
And like one I think should be when people talk about like the great characters in these films. I personally would put him up there as an underrated.
Oh yeah, if we were gonna like tier slashers, we would
I
definitely
think
have Leslie.
that
Yeah.
depends a lot on how people think you're actually tiering them as slasher villains. Because if you look at them as the slashing aspect, if you will, he doesn't do as much, and that fear factor is not kind of is there. I think I was
No.
the least concerned and scared in this film with the last 20-30 minutes when he's doing his killing. I think that comes down to, because it spends so much time like telling you how he's doing it and stuff, and that it builds up that psychological kind of fear. I think a lot of this film, to me, it feels sometimes like it's
Yeah.
more of like a psychological horror disguised as a slasher for almost
Mhm.
publicity reasons, is what it feels like at points.
Yeah.
But he is a great character for sure.
There is
Yeah.
that
It may actually be.
there's that great moment where they basically reference the idea that like slasher villains, especially things like people like Michael or Jason, almost feel like they can just appear behind you, or like they'll walk slowly and you're running and they're always right. And apparently the answer is cardio. You
Yeah.
just go
Do it.
be really fit.
Right. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh,
Thank you for bringing that up, because
hilarious.
that's the one thing about this movie that I don't like.
Okay.
Right? You see him moving about in the library.
Mhm.
He's clearly probably done parkour in his life, like, because the way he moves, the fluidness and the way he moves. Are you telling me that Jason Voorhees has parkour in his ass
He's just
into
running
houses?
about.
Jason can
Apparently.
No.
Jason can teleport.
Jason can canonically teleport, to be fair.
Okay, Mike Myers then.
Yeah, Michael.
Mike Myers.
The implication in Halloween for me has always been that Michael just runs away really quickly.
When you're not looking.
Yeah, when you're not looking, he's like,
But like
"Oop."
him, but then he's talking about it. He's like, oh, how do I appear like right behind you and then I'm in front of you? Like, how do I do that? I'm really quick. Yeah,
Mhm.
cool. You're like what, 5'6", 5'7" at best. You're like 100 and odd pounds. You like Mike Myers is 6'6", 6'5" or something like that. At least kicking 250. He ain't jumping through no window. No. That's
This.
one thing. Like Freddy, 100%, I believe it, but no.
Oh yeah, Friday.
Mike.
Yeah. We are about. Oh, we've been on for about 30 minutes now, right?
Yeah.
So here, just because I want to say something based on what you said there, Ty. But
Okay.
with this movie in particular, and we agreed before recording,
Mhm.
I'm going to add on an extra caution going forward
Yeah.
that we are going to dissect the implications of this film and parts of the ending that going in, we personally believe are better not to be known. I'll put a time code in the description for when we start going to the question section. If you're interested in that bit, I'll give you a couple seconds to make your mind up on that. And if you're still here,
Thanks.
I think Leslie's got supernatural abilities.
Yeah.
I feel like it's heavily implied that he is lying about the cardio thing, and he is some kind of demon.
Well, it has to be.
He has to be,
Did
right?
you watch the end?
Yeah, that was.
I'm gonna go right to the
I
end.
was gonna
Like,
bring
I'm
up
going to
the
go
credits.
End. Yeah, I was like, I skipped through the credits just in case, and I'm like, oh shit moves. Oh,
Yeah.
Go back. What the hell
Yeah,
happened?
his
he gets up.
charred body after being burned to death
Yeah.
sits up
let's
in the
quick
morning.
time. He wasn't burned
The
to
only
death.
time-
His head was crushed,
Yeah.
then his body was burned.
True, yeah, like
Yeah.
he's
The only
dead.
time I've ever seen, yeah, the only time I've ever actually seen that was like in Blade 1 with a vampire.
Um,
I'm sorry, he's a demon.
Yeah,
Like, he lied about being Leslie Mancuso. He's fucking Leslie Vernon. He's actually Leslie Vernon.
which bothers me because the closing line to this movie, right? And I know I just said I loved Robert Englund and everything he did in this movie, but he's doing his whole Dr. Lupus thing, and he goes, "He's just a man," which is obviously
He's just a man.
hilarious line, very clever flip on the quote from Halloween, which is that Michael is the embodiment of evil.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy's just Michael again, right? He is the embodiment of evil. He died like Michael did in Halloween 2, and just like Michael, got back up again.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is like a criticism to the movie, because I think it makes it more interesting. Like, this is why I want to go back and watch it again. Because I feel like there's probably more hints towards that. Even, we said earlier, there's like, hey, if Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees exist in this universe, there's paranormal stuff in this universe.
Yeah.
But he also
Well, no. If you remember the line that Freddy pulled so much terror in Elm Street that he said that the theory became that even if you dreamed about him, you would die.
Yeah.
He'd caused that much terror, so they still called him a human.
I think
But,
people
like,
are
the terror and the fear.
people are presuming he is. I think because the same logic.
But you think he's still?
Yeah, there's the
doomed.
same logic in Freddy versus Jason, where they're like, well, he didn't, like, that wasn't true, and then it was. And the same if Jason.
Sorry. No, the line in Freddy vs. Jason where the smaller nut job, like, starts singing the song in the halls and everyone just turns. He's like, "Do you know why they sing that? Because that's when he comes for you." I'm like, "Yeah, well done, bro."
It's the line.
Freddy's coming for you. Do you know why they say that? Because he's coming for you.
But even if.
Yeah,
got
got that.
So yeah, if Nightmare on Elm Street happened,
Sorry.
there's supernatural things in this universe. If Friday the 13th happened,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
Jason's a zombie.
Yeah, Jason got drowned.
Yeah, like
Like,
Jason's a
from that
literal, like a literal zombie. And Leslie references Chucky by name at one point, who is a possessed doll.
Yeah. Yeah, so Supernatural, the guy learned dark magic.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Put his dying soul into
Just...
a children's
Yeah.
toy. So, I think there's enough hints in this movie that there's something below the surface going on.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Because it adds to the
Oh, by the way,
replayability. Like, it makes me want to go back and watch it again.
Oh, yeah. 100% I'd watch that again. Do you know what got me to... I realised that about halfway through, the reporter is one of the sisters from Home Alone.
Yeah.
Is she?
You know, she's barely done any
Yeah.
acting, but yeah.
If she's not, she's creepily like her. Yeah, it's one of the girls. It's one of the sisters. I think it's the one that does Les Incompetents.
I don't know which one, but
I'm
I just know she's
almost
in Home Alone
positive.
'cause I've looked at IMDb.
Yeah,
He's checked, yeah.
yeah.
I didn't even think of
she's one
checking
of the
next to
sisters
check.
from Home Alone did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I just noticed.
so,
I noticed that halfway through the film.
if we've spoiled the closing shot of the movie, you guys want to talk about this movie
First?
does not stay a mockumentary entirely.
No.
So
No.
the second half of the plot of this movie is once for people that are sticking around because they don't care about spoilers, I'll tell you what's happening here. Leslie goes to start his killing spree, and the documentary crew realize that they don't want any part of this
He's
anymore.
actually killing people.
Yeah, because he's gonna kill some people, innocent people. So they decide
I think
we're
they-
gonna try and help.
Well,
Well, sorry. I don't think it was they didn't want a part of it. I think they just didn't
I
take him
think they-
seriously.
Yeah.
From the start, they were like, "Oh, he's not actually gonna kill people." Then when he did, it's like, "Oh
I
shit!"
think
He's
they
actually
didn't
killing
necessarily
people.
realize what was going on because you know they're present for like the first two murders when he kills the two guys that well not two guys
Mhm.
the two people, I guess they're shagging, and then like when they see the bodies that's when they decide
Yeah.
to back out. So yeah,
No, they didn't
remember
see the body.
there's the clip where
Well,
you
they
just-
hear the
you watch
killing.
her look out at the bodies as she like covers her mouth and then she then they back off.
Great shot.
We
Oh,
don't
yeah,
see
so
the
she
bodies
does.
at that point, but they do.
Yeah.
So from that point, we move from the found footage style to more traditional film.
Everyone's in the.
Um,
Yeah.
it becomes a normal movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's where we get our big twist. Ooh.
Well, you get the half twist. You walk in on the virgin girl,
Not being a virgin.
pounded down, and it's like, she's not a virgin, and that is not her first time.
What about she?
It's like, what the
I said it very
It's just
subtly.
like a half twist.
I said that very subtly, and
What?
Ty just went, nah.
What?
But yeah, that is the
You got no
first.
time for something.
That is the first half of the twist.
Twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes you think like, oh, he's made a mistake. Because they do the same thing in Cabin in the Woods a couple years later,
Yeah.
where it's just like, oh, they're just pretending.
Yeah, I legitimately thought he just connected wrong and he was just going to
Yeah.
slaughter everyone. Like, oh well, cool.
But no, there is
It's a TPK up in this
there
bitch.
is a virgin girl in this movie, and
Yes.
it was the reporter the whole time.
It was Agatha.
It was Agatha.
Sorry. No, sorry. I'm sorry. Audience, if you're still listening, the twist, that the reporter was the virgin girl came to a surprise to me, but the all-seeing, ever-genius Josh saw
I
it
didn't
from
say
the
I
beginning.
didn't say from the beginning,
Josh,
first
would
of
you
all,
like
and
to
I love it
explain?
how you're saying this as if I bragged about it. I just clarify. All that's happened
Nah,
here
just
is I
doing
pointed
it.
out I saw it coming before Ty, and now I'm an all genius seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, unless we haven't realised I'm a dick. why
Yeah,
is this a
I get
problem?
why it was a
I'm an
twist and
asshole.
not everyone saw it coming, but no, I think there's enough not necessarily hints, but it nods to it quite a few times throughout the film.
There
and
probably was.
you can tell something's going to happen. Otherwise,
Probably, yeah.
with the
She's-
amount of time it's got as
Yeah.
well, it kind of gives up. There's a few just giveaways that make you realize something's up, and the only proper logical
She's-
explanation is that, yeah,
Yeah. She's very uncomfortable
Yeah.
anytime anyone brings up anything sexual throughout the whole movie.
I never got that.
Yeah, especially she keeps telling them to be more coy or to stop talking. She gets visibly uncomfortable when he's explaining the birth canal stuff.
Yeah, and grabbing dicks.
Yeah,
and stuff.
she gets visibly tense about that.
Maybe,
Which is a
maybe I
hint.
was really bad at picking up hints. I was really bad at picking up
These
hints.
I didn't think of that until I was thinking over the movie later, after the film. I was like, oh, they
Yeah, I
did
think
that. The same as the Chucky
like,
thing. I was
yeah.
like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
he
the
said
first
that.
bit
so
that kind
means-
of hinted towards it, mostly towards me, is when they're at the other high school type area to scout out potential targets that are just examples, and then when he's like her over there, she's a virgin. You
Yeah.
get the very quick dialogue of, wait, how can you tell type idea. You can see that that's the first bit. I think you can
Yeah.
really see the almost wonder. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's one I'm going to use in her. So
Yeah.
And it does.
True.
It reframes it so instead of her being this passive observer who's now inserted herself into the plot, she's the victim. She's
Yeah.
the one we now need to root for to survive.
Yeah.
Which means there isn't a dead air to the movie at all, which could have happened
Yeah.
if now we were watching these kids we had no connection to
yeah.
try and
I
survive.
think as well,
We're now watching the news crew.
the last half hour of the film would be really crap
Yeah.
if it all was just showing what he told was going to happen. So you knew that either there's going to be a twist and something would go wrong, or something like this or to this effect would have to happen. Otherwise, you'd have 20 minutes of just
Mhm.
this is exactly what we said was going to happen. Enjoy, and that would just kind of destroy
you'd
the
go
whole
through
movie.
a whole slasher movie, but in 15 minutes.
Yeah. I think what set off for me, I think was maybe what the movie was going for, is maybe the whole thing of the virgin girl not being a virgin girl. Maybe it was just oh, it's his first time. He made a mistake. He's going to be prolific now because someone's going to come and just find a bunch of mangled bodies. So maybe he was out just making a name for himself before, he did the usual, like, slasher thing and just, on the anniversary of their death, he'd just go and maul a bunch of people. And he just wanted to, he wanted to seem like he was the all-knowing guy by saying, oh, there's a survivor girl, she's going to survive, or she's going to kill me, Maybe he legitimately knew that, or maybe the movie wanted you to think that he knew none of them were virgins, he was just going to kill all of them.
Well, yeah,
You know?
that was the moment for me. I was like, oh, he is an idiot. Like, he doesn't know at all.
Yeah,
With the-
that's what
with-
I thought. I thought it was
yeah.
oh, it's his first time.
With the twist then being, oh no, he knows way more than anyone's given him
Yeah.
credit for. He is, like, yeah.
And even said the Apple pressure would come into effect. I'm like, oh, someone's going to get a hand mulched. No, not a hand.
That's some great,
Your head.
I mentioned last week the concept of planning and payoff and how Mars Needs Moms doesn't understand it. This movie is where you go for planning and payoff. We've mentioned it multiple times already. But the most obvious and most brilliant being, he shows her how to use the cider press and goes, this is going to hurt someone. And then barely half an hour later.
Did you guys expect gore? Did you guys expect gore with that when he took his mask off? Did you expect to watch, like, eyes pop out of head? And
With any other film, yes, I would
I
have.
expected more.
But no, so you didn't. I expected it.
I wouldn't have
when
expected
the
like
mask came off, I'm like, I'm going to see an eye.
I wouldn't have expected a full Eli Roth moment. I did expect more like blood or something there.
I think with
Yeah.
it, for me at least,
But it's
because of
artsier.
yeah, because of the film, like I'm not surprised it didn't happen, but also I wouldn't have been surprised if it did show his head getting crushed type thing.
I think they would have done that if they hadn't also done the
Yeah.
fire.
I think it also
Yeah.
adds to the ending.
I think
Like,
it-
if they showed the
it
head
comes back
getting
to that.
completely crushed, then when he sits up at the end, that would kind of
There's a major
Was-
plot
yeah.
hole.
Yeah.
If he didn't have a head.
I think it's that discussion. Yeah, we've had this discussion, Nathan, before when talking about movies like this. It's like, what's worse, actual violence or implied violence?
Yeah.
And it's like, would we have rather seen his head get crushed? Probably. We would have expected him to die. But what we heard was his skull getting crushed. We heard the skull cracking.
It feels more
So
real,
it's like,
yeah.
it's just worse. Yeah, it's just worse. Like, I'd rather see his head getting crushed than, like, just hear it and go, oh, that's awful, man. And then, left that room for, oh, I'm going to come back. And personally, me, when she goes in with the axe and hits him and he goes down, me personally would have took his hand scythe and taken his head off. I would have made sure I got the final blow right then and there. I would have just, like, made sure he was dead. Because that's classic
But see,
horror
yeah,
mistake.
but
oh, he's
that
clearly
actually
dead.
brings up
I'm
a
just
good point that
run.
I talked
No.
about as well, Ty, as you point out, that would be like the logical thing to do almost. But if you notice in this film, the kind of like one of the last bits you see of the mockumentary is when they're talking to what's his name? Scott Wilson's character.
So,
Eugene. Just pull that up.
Eugene?
Yeah, they're
Eugene and
talking to
Jamie.
him, and they're like, "So, if you could give any advice to the victims to survive, what would you say?" And then his advice is basically just he says, "Run, and don't stop." And yet, so they've been told that's how you survive, and then yet when they're doing it, they do the exact thing they're told essentially not to do if you want to survive.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like when you watch a slasher film,
Yeah.
you're constantly thinking, "Go and just do the bloody thing that you should be doing and actually surviving." So it's kind of like implying that almost, whilst you can prep for it as much as you want and in logic say, I would have done that. When you're getting chased by a psycho killer, you're not going to be thinking straight. So
That's true.
Right before we get to our usual questions, right? I've got one little piece of trivia. That
Okay.
I mean,
I have a question before questions as well,
uh,
but you go with your trivia.
okay. I've got one little bit of trivia, and then Ty can do his thing. To the tiny one, you probably both noticed, but someone will be mad if I don't say it. Little cameo from Kane Hodder in this movie.
I didn't see it.
It's quite He is the guy that she tries to interview at Elm Street.
Is that Kane
That's
Hodder?
Kane Hodder, Jason Voorhees himself.
Right.
Uh,
I saw the thing with a special thanks to Kane Hodder. I'm like, what the hell was he in there?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a nice touch. So sorry, you said you had a question.
Yeah. No, sorry. And who is Eugene? Just like, is Eugene meant to be
So,
anyone specific?
In the original script, he's meant to be Billy from Black Christmas, but when they entered production, they decided instead of like
Okay.
making that explicit or something to imply it and just have him a generalization of no one cares enough to be like more just original, old, like really old kind of like
Right.
one hit
That-
wonder kind of slashers.
That proves my theory
when-
about the Canadian thing. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah, when that got mentioned,
Billy.
when it was like, oh, he's an old hand at the business. I'm like, oh hell yeah, this is Robert England, it's Freddie, and then it's random like who the hell are you? And then also his wife is a Survivor girl.
Yes, his
Right
Survivor
at the end of the
girl.
movie, you find out,
Oh,
yeah, it was his Survivor girl.
that's messed up.
So she's clearly got Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, that
Clearly,
that made me
Yeah.
so uncomfortable when they implied that.
like last meeting, you're like, haha, I ran really fast, but you caught me. I'm like, oh my god, he murdered all your friends. You're still with it. Oh my god, what the hell? Yeah.
I have a question for you two before we do the normal questions.
Before
Okay.
you ask this question,
Okay.
I quickly want to put I've just been scrolling down IMDb again, and I didn't realize this until right now. But two of the characters, the two stoned guys, they're credited as stoned guy and slightly more stoned guy, and that is beautiful.
That's a fun credit.
Yeah. And you know what the worst thing is? I
Yeah.
can tell who's who.
Yeah, same.
The white guy was the more stoned guy.
So,
Yeah.
quick question for both of you. Would you watch
Yeah.
another one of these? Would you watch another Leslie Vernon movie?
Do you mean
Yes. If they made a like Leslie Vernon 2,
is it
yes.
another mockumentary or is it a more classic slasher?
All I know is there's been talks for a little while now, and with this picking up the last couple of years as more of a cult favorite among horror fans, it looks like it's happening. I don't know quite the tone they're going for yet, but they are in talks to make a movie called Before the Mask: The Return of Leslie Vernon with the same director
Oh,
and some of the same cast.
I know where I'd go. It'd be so right at the end, reporter girl and Todd. Is it Todd that said he loves her and gets knocked out?
No, Todd's the fat guy. It's
Uh,
Doug.
Todd's the one that runs
Doug's
away to
Doug,
distract him.
yeah. Okay, so I'd say it would be Doug and reporter like get together and have a child, and then their daughter is now going to be the object of Leslie's attack. And it'll be on the anniversary of the night that her mum got away. That's where I'd go. If I was going to do it, that's where I'd go.
It'd be interesting if this film does eventually get made, which I do hope it does. Yeah, I'm curious to see if they would dive into things like the implied supernatural elements. Would that be more brought to the forefront or not? Would they be parodying the idea of like films like Halloween 2 and Friday the 13th Part 2? You know, that are the kind of heightened, more ridiculous version of the film before it. If this film does come out, I think we should. I mean, I'm gonna watch it anyway, but I think we should talk
If it
about
comes
it.
out, I'm definitely watching it.
Yeah.
But the idea's been floating for what, 15 years? It's a long
Yeah,
time.
it's been a while. But again, with this starting to gain a proper cult following, same thing happened with The Collector, where it eventually did get a sequel and is getting a third part because horror fans have just adopted it. So hopefully we'll get the same thing here.
Wait, didn't another movie get a sequel like decades later? What was it?
Blade Runner?
Oh, the Blade Runner. Yeah, that got a sequel decades later.
The cult film?
No. Alright.
But right, if you've skipped to this time code because you don't want to know certain details of the movie, welcome back. It's good to have you here. I hope you haven't missed any running jokes we'll accidentally say later. If so, whoops. All that's really...
Oopsie.
What we really need to do now, though, Josh, is this a movie you would recommend to people?
I would recommend it to anyone who's already a horror fan. I think this would be a terrible movie to start off with if you want to get into horrors like slashers and stuff. But to anyone that knows
Mhm.
they like horror or slasher films, then yeah, I'd definitely recommend it.
Ty, would you recommend Behind the Mask?
I agree with every one of Josh's points.
That is because I'm such a smart guy.
To a horror person, yes.
It's because Josh is the all-seeing.
Sure. Yeah, all seeing, all knowing. No, it's true. Like if you're just getting into slasher movies, I'm gonna refer to the classics. But if you're like into slashers already, you're looking for just like if you're looking for your next film to watch, then yes, I would definitely recommend this.
Totally agree with both of you. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, if you've never seen a slasher movie, obviously watch Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. But if you've seen all those and you have fallen into the trap of awful rip-off movies, then yeah, you'll probably love this. Like, you'll get a lot out of this.
Yep.
But, big question here, and we'll go back to Josh again. Josh, is this a midnight screening?
I think for this, I'm gonna have to say no. I was not going spoilers because we've cut that bit out for some people.
Mhm.
Because of how it ends, I think it just kind of, in the tone of the movie as a whole, it's more a movie to watch. I think for a specific reason, or maybe not with a bunch of other slasher films. I think if you're going for a midnight screening and you want something like this, you're better going for either a classic slasher or going for more like your Cabin in the Woods type of mock film. But I don't think this isn't one I'd do midnight screening of.
Okay. Ty?
Group depending, yes. The same thing where, to my reason for recommending it, if you're with a group of people, like a bunch of people that haven't seen slasher movies, no. But if you're like well established, like if it was like me, you, Josh, and like Jack and all that, then if we know we've at least seen at least the classics, then yes, this is a midnight screening.
Ooh, I've got the deciding vote here, boys.
Ooh.
Drum roll, please.
Oh, we should have the TikTok, the countdown clock.
Bong.
Boom.
I'm gonna say yes.
Ooh.
I agree with you, Ty. Yeah, with the right group of people. If you're in a room full of
Yeah.
jaded, cynical horror fans, this is gonna crush it. Like this is gonna go down brilliantly. I definitely also agree though, Josh, that like in general, you want to watch a funny horror movie or like a dissection, you are probably better going for like a Cabin in the Woods or Scream over this. But with the right group, I think this could be a pretty fun night.
Yeah.
It's true.
So there we have it, folks. That was our discussion of Behind the Mask, the rise of Leslie Vernon. But before we leave, it's everyone's
Josh, your boy.
favourite part of the show. Josh,
What's next week?
can you give the audience a hint as to what we're talking about next week?
So I struggled for a solid 15 minutes earlier today trying to come up with something, and all I've got to say is I wish we watched Step Brothers.
Oh,
That's all I've
that's a
got.
good one. I'll give you that. That's a good one. It's a good one though.
That is great. I love that.
Yeah.
Do
For
tune in next week to find out why Josh is so upset with me.
As usual, to be honest. But
What did I do this time? Thank you all for listening. As always, thank you to my wonderful co-hosts Josh and Ty, and to our
Yeah, buddy.
to our editor IzPrebuilt on YouTube. His links will be in the description below, followed by the links for the show and our socials. Follow us if you want to. Follow Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, but not in real life, please. If you are listening on Spotify, why not check out the Nathan Needs a Username YouTube channel. All of these episodes are hosted there, along with all my little video essays about whatever dumb pop culture thing I thought way too much about that week. And if you are on YouTube and you want to hear us rant and ramble on the go, there is a Spotify, and you can check that out.